Telltale's Walking Dead game is what I call an impossible coming of age with nothing left to come of age to. So this pairs with McCarthy's The Road and Naughty Dog's The Last of Us as these works of fiction that drill into who we are without world by focusing on the parent-child relationship and the intense love that we experience therein. It's the exact same radical space that my own literary zombie apocalypse, Where We've Made It Dark, tries to drill into and press even further. The book's out October 21st. You can download free chapters and pre-order, link in my profile. So each of those works is are works of fiction that make you fall in love with their characters, very, very ruthlessly. To engage that fiction, you are in love with those characters. So the structures that get you there are sometimes, the same or similar to other things like romances. So in a romance, you don't have two characters that just fall in love and everything's hunky dory. There's a problem, there's a misstep, and you see that misstep through. And in doing so, you change your own position, your own relation to the other person, and you see them in a new light. Vice versa, you both become, in properly speaking, in love with each other. And the love you have of the other person changes them, and their love of you changes you. So you have to go through that misstep to get there. So you have a lot of these cycles in the first Walking Dead game, and I believe in the others, but I have to analyze them. So first off, when we meet Clementine, who's an 8-year-old kid, we're playing as Lee Everett, father figure, and he is being attacked by a zombie, and he's going to be unalived, but she saves him by offering him a hammer, which he uses, of course. So, immediately we show that there is no safe space to protect your kids from. Everyone has to be fully involved with the violence of this world, and there is no normal world buffer. The traumatic thing is right there in your face. It's the very air that you're breathing. So from that foundation, we start trying to find societies or new groups in order to survive, and all of them are, of course, going to fail. The first one is a bucolic farmstead with a small family, and the moment the traumatic zombie appears, everything falls apart, and you have to flee. We get a detour into who Lee is by going back to the drugstore his parents used to run, and his parents and brother are now unalived. And there's a group of survivors there who becomes our core, zombie survival group. So you have the quiet mourning that Lee is keeping from everyone else in the midst of all the things he has to do. And we get a lot of classic zombie enjoyment of barricading in the drugstore and going out and doing things for survival. So there's a lot of pure zombie fun going on there, which leads to holding up in a motel. This motel is our happy ending of the first episode of season 1, and of course, it ends in the power goes out, so we know things aren't going to be so good. With the scarcity that we get, we fall into a new farm, a new farmstead that takes us in. And this is like the dark underbelly of the original farmstead we were at. This is a farmstead of plenitude. They have food. They're protected from the bandits. And we realize once we're there that the reason why is because they're cannibals. And so their plenitude comes from cannibalism. And the interesting thing in confronting that is to break out of it, we have to be violent ourselves. So there is no, again, with that hammer example, there is no outside space of not getting your hands dirty. You have to do the violent zombie-like thing, whether that is through something as dark as cannibalism or rejecting it. So the excess there is in performing these violent acts of, fighting these people and unaliving them in front of Clementine, the child. There's no buffer there. And furthermore, there's a theme, because in the Walking Dead universe, everyone is infected. So if you pass away, you become a zombie. When the group is originally trapped in that farm, one of their party members has a heart attack, and there's this tension: do we try to resuscitate him or destroy him? And he gets destroyed. So that theme of being trapped with the person you love and having to unalive them is part of the core of the Walking Dead game. Um, because what we're dealing with in every moment, what's really unique about Walking Dead here in the game more than in the show is how it engages what's called social antagonism. So, not the simplicity of in group, out group, enemy, and part of my myself and my own well being, but what comes before that, what's more primordial than that. So, social antagonism is something as simple as bumping into someone in the street and navigating that friction. Um, when you're in an apocalypse, you have no social fabric anymore. Every moment can lead to your undoing. You're fighting over resources, etc. And moreover, you don't know whom you can trust, and trusting people is acutely vulnerable. Doing the good thing, the right thing, obviously it can jeopardize you, your group, your family. So when you play the game, what you're really enjoying is navigating those spaces. Uh, it does force them into certain binaries where you're getting to the same destination regardless. A lot of these choose your own adventure games still get to the same destination, but with just this flavor of choice and freedom. Um, but but the destination is still worthwhile. So the traumatic thing that's actually threatening to swallow you up in the Walking Dead game isn't so much the undead as it is other people and just being stuck in social antagonism. So the game keeps having these figures that function like a Greek chorus, these avuncular talking to you, saying you got to take good care of Clementine. It's hard out there. So that can be a cheap plot device that a game would use just to remind a player who's not played the game in a while what the game is. But these chorus figures also function to provide this buffer, this space for you to fill in, and the father to fill uh, in the tension of the outside world, in the tension of the narration. So, um, so like Oedipus at Colonus, like it's not just like Oedipus is controlled by the chorus; he's fighting against what they're saying. So we as players actually aren't just like, okay, thanks for telling me what to do, game. I gotta love Clementine. There's a tension there in the game between being there for Clementine and being part of all of the drama that's happening. And it distracts Lee from Clementine. And so he does things like, brutally unalive someone in front of Clementine, and he doesn't even realize she's there. And he kind of stops and goes, I got to take care of you now. So there's this waffling back and forth that gets brought more to the surface as the first season concludes. But we're going to have to get to that. And parenthood in the next post. Here we're mostly just talking about how we get to breaking free and setting ourselves adrift in this world. So it's this cycle of farm, motel, dark farm, and then the undoing of that dark farm that takes our group, that our survivor group that's full of characters we actually do care about, and sets that group falling apart. I'm going to keep this discussion going, so follow for more.